Thursday, September 15th, 2016. Monaco 64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I'd like to talk today about the South Sea bubble and the central bank bubble that we're in today. And I like to compare both of those. This is my study, of course. There are my books, and I've got an engraving here from the South Sea bubble. I had it framed, and it's a scene at Change Alley in the city of London. All the people, dealing in South Sea bubble stock. It was a frenzy. Change Alley is still there today. I remember when I used to leave my office in the city, I used to walk towards the station through Change Alley. It's very quiet there now. There's no activity, of course, but it's still there, Change Alley. So you're probably asking, how can you compare the South Sea bubble with the central bank bubble? Central bank bubble of today is created by the central banks and governments. Well, I had a further look into the South Sea Company, and it was actually, and I read here from Wikipedia, it says the South Sea Company, officially the governor and company of the merchants of Great Britain trading to the South Seas and other parts of America, and for the encouragement of fishing, was a British joint stock company founded in 1711, created as a public-private partnership, wherever you heard that before, to consolidate and reduce the cost of national debt. So basically, South Sea at the time meant the South Atlantic, the water surrounding South America. It didn't mean the South Pacific or South Indian Ocean. It was just the waters around South America, the South Sea. And the reason why the British government created this joint stock company was that the Bank of England, which had been in operation for about 15, 16 years and was a private company, was not doing a good enough job to pay off the debt, to raise money for the government. So basically, this company was founded in 1711. Bank of England was formed in 1694. So it was actually created by the government. And the scheme was to push for this, to encourage private investors to come in and put money. And the sales pitch was that the British government was going to explore and get rights to trade with South America and the Spanish colonies. But to most people who knew at the time, and even today, that wasn't going to happen. I think the first time the British actually got some kind of trading deal with South America was through the Portuguese, when the Portuguese royal family had to flee Napoleon in around 1808. The British fleet, the Royal Navy, helped the whole Portuguese court move to Rio in Brazil. And in exchange for that, the Portuguese royal family allowed the British to trade in Brazil. But in Spanish America, it was never allowed. But, they had a very prominent people putting money in this. And basically, they did a debt for equity swap. So at the time, the government was in trouble because they'd had wars with France, and they also had wars with Spain, and they had a war called the Northern Wars. So they had £9 million in debt, the British government. So they swapped that all that debt for stock in the South Sea Company, and it created, and they promoted it. They said, "Oh, we're gonna, it's gonna be very advantageous to the country. There's riches beyond belief in the South Sea, South America and the South Atlantic." And basically they created a bubble in these in this South Sea company, and the bubble started pretty much. Let's see here. Here's a chart. Started at beginning of 1720, and the price went from just above £100, as you can see, almost up to 1,000, and then it just collapsed. It was a very massive collapse, and it even went below par or 100. So a lot of people lost fortunes. People were punished. There's a lot of corruption, politicians involved, prominent people. Even Sir Isaac Newton, who at the time was getting on, he was probably in his 70s. Supposedly he lost £20,000, which was quite a lot of money back then, investing in this scheme. So why is it similar to today? Well, because, since 1971, the Western world, going off the gold standard, there's been a massive amount of debt created, especially since 1981 as well, with interest rates having gone down so much. There is a delusion nowadays that interest rates are always going to stay low. And the flip side to that is that there's a debt bubble, because when interest rates go down, the price of bonds go up. So in 2008, that system was under threat. So the central banks had to come out with the governments, create new debt. That's why the national debt in the US has gone from about 8 to 9 trillion to almost 20 trillion now in 8 years. Also in the UK, the national debt has doubled since then. So they had to create all this debt, and the central banks have been printing money to buy all this debt to keep the system going. So a lot like in 1711, the problem is debt. And it's always governments and the bankers working together to keep from having to pay, pay their debts and trying to continue the system. And you saw what happened, the South Sea bubble just collapsed. The company was formed in 1711, so it took 10 years for it to collapse. So who knows when our present bond bubble is going to burst. But I just thought it would be interesting for people to see that a lot of these bubbles result from problems that governments have with debt. And nothing changes. This was 300 years ago, and it's still happening now. So Change Alley is still there in London. But the frenzy of dealing now is in dealing rooms, is not outside like it used to be. So we'll just wanted to compare this, the South Sea bubble and the present central bank bubble. I definitely think it's a bubble. A lot of people don't see it as a bubble because they're too much immersed into it, and they haven't, stepped off and looked at the whole thing. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know when this central bank bubble will burst, but it could be any time in the next few years. So if you enjoy my videos, please like, share, and subscribe. We also accept and are thankful for donations if you like to donate to my channel. I've got a few options below in the description. You can pay in Bitcoin, through Patreon, or PayPal. Take care. I'll talk to you later. Bye.